What if Muichiro Tokito reached his full potential? In the original series, Muichiro never truly reached his full potential because he died at just 14 years old. Even so, he put up an incredible fight, unlocking the transparent world and turning his blade red. But even then, he was nowhere close to what he could have been. Remember, Muichiro comes from the bloodline of Kokushibo, who was the brother of Yoriichi Tsugikuni, the strongest demon slayer to ever live. That means Muichiro's potential runs insanely deep. Some even say that if he had lived longer, more trained, he might have been able to stand on Yoriichi's level. And keep in mind, Muichiro became a Hashira in just 2 months of joining the Corps. That's how crazy his talent was. So, in this What If, we're going to scale how strong Muichiro would be in his prime, and how he even gets there. To do that, we have to adjust his backstory a little. Instead of being born in the original timeline, let's shift his birth 5 years or 10 years earlier. That way, by the time the big battles begin, he's older, more experienced, and closer to his true potential. His backstory still hits the same tragic beats. His mother dies from illness. His father goes out to gather herbs to save her, but he falls off a cliff and never returns. After that, Muichiro and his brother live alone until a demon attacks. His brother sacrifices himself to protect him. In a blind rage, Muichiro fights the demon all night, managing to kill it by sunrise, but collapses on the brink of death. Here's where it changes. The Ubuyashiki family finds him much earlier than in the original, and the reason they'd find him isn't a stretch. They were probably keeping close tabs on the Tokito family, since this bloodline was one of the most trusted and gifted among swordsmen in Japan. From here, Muichiro is taken in by the Corps, and begins training way earlier, which sets him up to truly reach his full potential later on. So, in the original timeline, Muichiro Tokito became a Hashira at just 14 years old after only 2 months of training. But in this version, he has an extra 5 or 6 years to grow before the main events of the story, meaning by the time Tanjiro enters, Muichiro is already in his prime at around 20 years old. Now, before we jump into how this affects the story, let's scale his prime power level. First off, I don't think Muichiro would ever change his breathing style. Mist breathing is something he created himself, and it perfectly suits his personality and fighting style. On top of that, he even uses his oversized clothing to make his movements harder to read, which makes his mist techniques even deadlier. Quick little fact here, mist breathing isn't just a branch of wind breathing, it's its own unique style. So where does Prime Muichiro scale? Let's compare him to Gyome Himejima, the stone Hashira, who's considered the strongest in the Corps. Gyome became a Hashira in 2 months as well, the same as Muichiro, but in the original timeline, we already saw him maxed out, with years of training, incredible physical strength, and insane experience. But here's the key difference. All that hard work and strength can't always beat raw talent, and Muichiro's raw talent is off the charts. In his prime, I think he'd have better speed, sharper swordsmanship, and superior technique compared to Gyome. Gyome might still have more raw strength, but overall, I'd put prime Muichiro at least equal to Gyome, or even stronger. So in this timeline, Muichiro becomes one of the strongest Hashira of his entire generation, hitting his full potential. Now let's plug this into the actual story. Tanjiro's family still dies. He goes through Season 1 and Season 2 the same way. But by the time we reach Season 3, the Swordsmith Village arc, Muichiro is no longer a prodigy child. He's a full-grown Hashira in his prime, standing at the top with the strongest of them all. Now Tanjiro heads to the Swordsmith Village for a brand new sword, and at first everything plays out the same as the original timeline. Muichiro comes into Tanjiro's room to ask if he's seen the missing swordsmith, and of course they don't know. But then Muichiro senses Upper Moon 4, Hantengu, right away. He slices off his head, splitting him into 4 different emotions. This time though, Muichiro is way faster and way more experienced. With all his extra years of growth, he doesn't get blasted away. He keeps up with the 4 emotions while Tanjiro, Nezuko, and Genya go after the main body. Muichiro can handle the clones even when they merge into a single powerful form. It's here that he activates his Demon Slayer mark, boosting his strength, speed, and awareness to new levels. In his prime, Muichiro completely outmatches Upper Moon 4, holding him off until Tanjiro, Nezuko, and Genya cut down the true body. Meanwhile, Mitsuri Kanroji, the love Hashira, makes her return to the village. She's still defending the chief, cutting through all of Gyoko's fish demons, and saving the swordsmiths. But in this timeline, she's the one who directly fights Upper Moon 5, Gyoko, right after Muichiro stays locked in battle with Hantengu. This time, it plays out much better for her. Mitsuri arrives in time to save the young swordsmith and his assistant from Gyoko's traps, and unlike Muichiro in the original timeline, Mitsuri doesn't get caught in the water prison. She's far more cautious, and with her long whip-like sword, she can fight from a distance. On top of that, her blade isn't dull like Muichiro's was, so she doesn't get slowed down. Mitsuri fights at her peak, awakens her Demon Slayer mark, and eventually defeats Gyoko herself. At the end of the fight, she throws Tanjiro his brand new sword, and he uses it to kill Hantengu's main body once and for all. From there, Nezuko becomes immune to sunlight, which sets Muzan's plan into motion. Knowing she's the key to his immortality, Muzan finally moves directly against the Demon Slayer Corps. Tanjiro and the others return to base, and this leads straight into the Hashira training arc. Everything goes basically the same as the original story, but now we see more of Prime Muichiro, showing the others how to push their bodies further, sharpen sharpen their techniques, and reach the limits of their marks. The training still ends the same way, but now the Hashira are even more prepared for what's coming. Now let's move into the Infinity Castle arc. We'll cover the side battles first before getting into the big one. Zenitsu versus Kaigaku plays out the same. Zenitsu uses his brand new 7th form and defeats Kaigaku. The fight against Nakimi, the Biwa woman, goes to Yushiro, Obanai, and Mitsuri. With their teamwork and Yushiro hacking into her control, they eventually take her down. Tanjiro and Giyu versus Upper Moon 3, Akaza still happens here, and after an intense fight, they manage to defeat him. For Upper Moon 2, Doma, the battle is Shinobu, Kanao, and Inosuke. In this timeline, Shinobu still sacrifices herself, filling her body with wisteria poison. With Kanao and Inosuke pushing back at the right moment, Doma is finally killed, poisoned from the inside out. Now we get to the real fight. Kokushibo, Upper Moon 1. This time, Muichiro Tokito arrives first, but unlike the original, he's not a 14-year-old prodigy. He's in his prime, a full-grown Hashira at his peak strength, and that's where things really start to change. This time, Muichiro isn't shocked at all when he faces Kokushibo. He calms himself immediately and goes straight into the fight. Unlike in the original timeline, he doesn't get his hand sliced off right at the start. Instead, he holds his ground and fights strong. Kokushibo recognizes him as part of his bloodline and says many of the same things as in the original story. But this time, he actually praises Muichiro for how powerful he's become, calling him one of the strongest demon slayers he's ever fought. He even acknowledges that Muichiro did an incredible job creating his own breathing style and pushing it to this level. Still, Kokushibo is way too strong for any demon slayer, outside of Yoriichi. But in this version, Muichiro holds his own, without suffering life-threatening injuries. He keeps Kokushibo occupied until Gyomei, Sanemi, and Genya arrive to back him up. Now, in the original timeline, Muichiro was heavily injured and could only help a little bit, but here, he's in his prime. A Hashira on Gyomei's level, maybe even stronger. Having two fighters of that caliber changes everything. Together, they push Kokushibo to the brink far more quickly, eventually cutting off his head. When Kokushibo regenerates, he finally admits his mistakes. Realizing the truth about his brother, Yoriichi, and seeing how far his descendants have come, he accepts defeat and chooses not to regenerate again. And that's how they win. From there, we move into the Sunrise Countdown arc. Musan realizes that Nakime, the Biwa woman, has been compromised, so he kills her. Yushiro takes control of the Infinity Castle, and instead of being trapped, the Hashira and Demon Slayers are brought safely outside to face Muzan on the surface. In this version, the only ones who died inside the castle were Shinobu. Muichiro and Genya both survive. Now we've got another Gyomei-level fighter on the battlefield, with all the Hashira battling Muzan together. They fight him incredibly well, until Muzan unleashes that massive blast. Normally, most of the Hashira either die or lose a limb from it, so in this timeline, let's say Muichiro loses his left arm, but he survives and keeps fighting. From there, Muichiro joins Tanjiro and Obanai on the front lines, pushing with everything they've got until sunrise. Muichiro supports Tanjiro as he unlocks the transparent world, activates his Demon Slayer mark. Together, they help bring Muzan down once and for all. In this version, Muichiro survives the final battle, but remember, the curse of the Demon Slayer mark still lingers, so while he lives through the fight, he would only have until age 25. That gives him about 5 more years of peace, time to live happily, and maybe even continue his family's bloodline so it doesn't die out. And that's how this timeline wraps up. I hope you guys really like this what if. Let me know down in the comments what Demon Slayer what ifs you want me to cover next, and make sure to click on this video right here for more content.content.nge.